Hi there, puppy. Do you want to say hi? So I hope that you know that God is super merciful and loves you, and He loves all of your efforts to please Him and to do His will, to do the right thing, to avoid doing the wrong things. I just want to say a few words about scrupulosity today, about what it is and how to deal with it, how to get better. So the first thing to know is, okay, so scrupulosity is basically, it's kind of like OCD that has as its subject matter something having to do with your religion, or your right and wrong kind of stuff. And so that's basically the topic of it. But it's basically what I'm going to be telling you about is how to deal with OCD, and try to give you a little bit of a tip of how to apply it with your scrupulosity. So scrupulosity is when we get a little too obsessed, or way too obsessed, with trying to do the right things or trying not to do the wrong things. So getting to the point where it is causing so much anxiety that it's taking up your whole life. Your a lot of your energy and thinking is really being driven by fear. We get keyed up about things that are not sins. They're not things that you have to confess in confession. If you're ever not sure about something, you can talk to your priest about it when you go to confession. But if it seems like a lot of times he's just saying, no, that's not a sin, that's not a sin, possible that you might have scrupulosity. So, for example, some people think that they have to, like, every time they have a fear about sinning or something like that, that they should have to say a certain prayer, or that they should now analyze, is it really a sin? So, first of all, the first thing that you need to know is that with any kind of obsessive kind of a thing, any kind of anxiety, even, really, this is pretty true with every anxiety, but especially with the really obsessive repetitive ones. So if you look at this little graph, I got this idea from somebody else, I didn't make this up, but basically, so if this is anxiety, this graph is graphing how much anxiety you have. And so what happens is something happens to trigger your anxiety. So maybe, whatever it is, you know what it is for you. Something triggers your anxiety about, right and wrong, or whatever it is. And your anxiety goes way up. So you do something at that point to reassure yourself. You might be analyzing it to try to figure out if it's right or wrong, or you might say a certain prayer every time, or whatever it is that you're doing. You might go ask somebody, is this a sin? Is this a sin? You know what I mean? And you might be asking them all day, and it's kind of getting on their nerves. All right, so the R is the response. That's your response that you do to soothe yourself, to make yourself feel better, okay? So what happens? This is what happens that goes on forever and ever, okay? That's the problem with this way of dealing with it, is that every single time the anxiety happens, you do the thing, and for whatever reason, that thing is now going to be adding to your problems by taking up your time, or it's just like the fact that you think that you have to do the thing is really the stress, okay? So you do the thing, your anxiety goes down, but then the thing happens again, and it keeps happening and happening and happening, and this goes on forever, and your anxiety never gets better. It just goes up and down and up and down and up and down. So what you want to do is, instead of doing the response that makes you feel better, you want to skip that and do this. Oh, go like this. So basically, you want to resist the response, resist saying the little prayer, resist whatever it is that you do when the anxiety comes, or for some people it's just the analyzing and just worrying and, just trying to think they have to go to confession about everything and whatever it is. So the anxiety, the thing happens that makes you worried about it. Anxiety goes way up. This time, instead of doing the thing, you're just gonna keep living your life. You're gonna resist doing the thing, and you're gonna do whatever you would have been doing if you didn't have that. And the anxiety, you're gonna feel more anxiety for longer this time. So, if you want to compare, first time you're gonna have a lot more anxiety, but the anxiety will come back down. And the next time, because you realize that it did come back down eventually, you're probably gonna realize that going forward, you're gonna probably have less anxiety. It might not happen this drastically, this quickly. It's gonna be different for everybody. For some people, you would be amazed. For some people, they come for one visit, they come back for the second visit of trying to figure out how to deal with this, and it's much better. Some people do better if they get some kind of medication or something to help them to get started with this. But what happens is the anxiety over time becomes less and less because you're not doing the thing that reinforces that you have to do something. You're stopping the process of telling yourself over and over and again that you have to do this thing or else. And it's not true. There's no rational reason why you have to do that thing. These thoughts are not helpful. These kinds of thoughts are not helpful to you. They are worthy of being ignored. You can't necessarily make them go away, but the more you ignore them, the less they're probably going to come. What you're going to notice is when you're under stress, things that happen with your anxiety are going to get to become more anyways. But you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do, and what to do is to not do the thing that you used to do to make it go away, and it will go away by itself. And over time, it'll get better. So if you keep trying to reassure yourself that everything's okay, you're telling yourself that everything is not okay and that you have to reassure yourself. But if you stop reassuring yourself, you'll feel more anxiety in the beginning, but eventually you'll realize you don't even need the reassurance, everything's fine. So there are a few things that you can do to help with anxiety in general that will also help to reduce your OCD or your scrupulosity and that kind of stuff. So one of the things that really makes it worse is too much time to think sometimes. Oftentimes. So everybody's different, right? But a lot of times, especially if you have a kind of a obsessive kind of a thing that's going on where it involves your thoughts a lot, you are going to have more time to think if you don't have stuff going on in your life. The more time you have to just think, the more time that you will have to have these obsessions and compulsive thoughts. Anyway, so first tip, stay busy-ish. Okay? So by busy-ish, I mean don't be like, oh, I have to be busy constantly at all times. But keep stuff going in your life. Have stuff to look forward to. Know what's next in your day. So the second one is stay connected. So basically, spend time with people and go places where people go. For many people, this is very helpful. Just being around people. I'll put this up at the end so that you can look at it again. But being around people, it's good for your anxiety levels. Now, obviously, if you have social anxiety, that's a whole other video probably. But and there are people out there who will probably do much better videos on that. I do have one video that's a little bit about that, and that was the one about seeking approval. So you can check that one out. Maybe I'll put the link below. Anyways, so stay busy-ish, stay connected, even a phone call, even if you know, whatever you can do to stay connected to other human beings and, you know, not just be alone with your thoughts. Being physically active. Now, this is the one, you know, people go to a therapist. They don't want their therapist to tell them to go to the gym, but unbelievably helpful. Unbelievably helpful. One of the most helpful things for people with OCD is to be physically active. At least that's what I've seen. So exercise, take a walk, join a gym, lift weights, stretch, whatever you do. If you love to play Frisbee, get some friends together, whatever. Go out and play with the dog. The more cardio or lifting that you do, though, that kind of stuff like is really good for your body, and your brain, and even just being out in the sunshine, part of it, and just seeing nature and stuff like that is really awesome too. But the exercise component is really important. It's amazing. There's so many things that you can try to do to feel better in life, but this is one that's pretty universal. And the final one, which this one, you know, could be the first one, but people don't really know what to do with this at first, is learning to relax. And what I just want to say with that is that if you can relax your body, it helps to relax your mind. And if you, you know, so that helps everything when it comes to any kind of anxiety. And there's all kinds of ways to learn how to relax. You should, you know, go look for ways to relax and learn how to relax. But it is a practice of just learning how to actually relax your body. And you can start with one muscle. And if you can take your arm and hold it up like this, or really it should be like resting on something, but just so that you can see it. If you can take your arm and hold up, you know, this part of your arm, and then lower it, you're relaxing this muscle by lowering it. So use that knowledge to know that you do know how to relax. You know how to relax your muscles. It takes practice to learn how, and you can start with your, you know, calf muscles, or start with your shoulders or whatever, or one of your arms, you know, just start somewhere. When I start to feel tense, one of the things that I do is I'll just be like, I'll say to myself, relax your neck. And, you know, it's obviously not going to completely relax if I'm dealing with stress, but it'll relax a little bit, and I'll be reminded to be back in my body and not so far off in my head, you know, tying myself up in knots. So, anyway, a lot more could be said, but I would say that, you know, a really important thing that I do want to say, I don't want to get into too many comforting thoughts, but when it comes to doing right and wrong, we can think about it the way that Therese de Lisieux and Sister Saint Faustina talked about how they would go through their day, and the little trifles, not big deals, just little things that they would do, that they would offer to God, that they would just offer them to God at like strewing flowers before him, little, no big deal. And if I know one time Therese de Lisieux said something like, well, sometimes she would miss an opportunity, and instead of being all upset about that, she would kind of think of it as a blessing that she saw her humility, that she saw that she was not perfect, you know? I can't remember her wording, but it was something like that. She would say things like, in order to avoid becoming too proud, that she would embrace humiliation, anything that was humbling to her. And if we can embrace the feeling of being humbled by our imperfections, you know, God wants us to be humble and aware that, you know, that we're not perfect, and that's one of the reasons why we need him. He knows we're not going to be perfect. That's anyway. So I hope this was helpful to you. Please feel free to put questions in the comments. I would be happy to answer any questions. Probably have to do it in another video, but I hope this made sense, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and know that God is so pleased by your efforts, and you don't need to worry that He's, looking for every little flaw. And you also don't need to keep telling yourself that, because it doesn't make any difference, okay? Just those thoughts pop up. Just keep going on with your day, enjoying the beauty of life that God gave you. All right, take care.